Okay, with the supervisor on duty today, what I'm going to try and do is get through some of my old freewheels. Some of them should be good, like this old, who made it? Regina Grand Sport 4-speed. It's a nice old freewheel. I have no idea where I got them all from, but you know, they could come in useful. Unfortunately this one is spinning in both directions, so I'm going to try and service it. I've not serviced a freewheel before. I know the rough idea of how to do it, so I thought I'd just bring you along for the ride. It's best to do this in the wheel itself, mounted to the wheel, unless you've got a scrap hub like I'm using at the moment. I've just got a scrap hub that I've just clamped up in my vise, because the way we are going to take this apart is going to be with this lock ring on top, and I think this whole video is going to be this angle, unfortunately. So yeah, the way we're going to do it is to remove this lock ring, and then we should be able to access the bearings on top, the bearings on bottom, the pawls on the bottom, and anything else in between. Give it all a good clean down, replace the light grease that's in there, and hopefully it should work again. Hopefully. So to start with, you need to get this lock ring off. It is going to be a bit of a pain sometimes. I've already loosened this. So you've got 2 pins to punch. I literally just have a punch, a steel punch, and we're going to want to turn this clockwise to undo it. So I've already loosened it, make it a bit easier to film. You literally just punch it round, and then you should get to a point where it should just slide round by itself without the punch and undo. Voila. And I'm actually going to utilise my little part bowl today, so everything sits nicely. But yeah, in here there are a lot of bearings. If you just give me a second, I will count them and tell you how many bearings that are in there. So in the top here, it looks like we've got 34 1/8 inch bearings. They're all dry. There is no grease whatsoever left in there. And there was also, where do my tweezers go? Right here, there are a bunch of washers or spacers, very thin ones, which is normal. So you can just take these out. But we may. That's 2. There's another one. 3. So it looks like there's 3. So I'm just going to use my magnet now and just take out all these bearings. I'm not going to use them or reuse them, because I'm going to put fresh ones in. But I'm just going to keep them together in my little magnetic bowl so they don't go anywhere. And of course I dropped one. That's why I counted them first. Okay, so there's nothing left in this top surface now. So we should just be able to lift this off, and depending on how dry the bearings are underneath, they may fall off, they may not. So it may be best when you do this to have a tray underneath it as well, which is what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I figured it would be best to have this tray underneath, because if any bearings drop out, it should catch them, hopefully. Just like that. Because I knew they were so dry they weren't going to stick to it. So that's the top half. Inside you've got all the little cuts, the little lugs for the pawls to sit in. Okay, so it looks like I've taken all the bearings off. Now in here, is this what's wrong with it? Perhaps. In this one, it looks like we've got the pawls here, got one on this side, which you can just slide out. Has a little area to slot in, and note the orientation. So you've got the flat surface on this side, curved on the inside. But we've also got this spring here. So I've got to make sure I don't lose this spring. It's quite a long one. Is it going to come out? It might not come out. But this spring on the other side is properly gunked up in there, but we'll take the pawl out anyway. But this is going to need a good clean. All the dirt, all the old grease has gunked up in this channel, and I can't actually get to that spring at all. So yeah, next step, clean everything up. I should note that these springs aren't always like this, aren't always these long ones that are wrapped round the hub body itself. They will enable the pawls. They should have enough tension that once they're pressed inside, the pawls want to automatically go out, and that's what we'll do with the ratcheting. Now would you look at that, the hub's actually changed for the reassembly, and the reason for that was because I checked out the springs versus the pawls, and it turns out one of the springs was actually broke, so that is no good to me whatsoever. I might be able to reuse the cogs because sometimes I can get the cogs off, but yeah, different hub. That other body is no good unless I remake somehow one of those very, very fine springs, because it just wouldn't it wouldn't enable the spring wouldn't enable the pawl to move. So this is a different hub. This is an Atom hub. It's a 3-speed, and it is like every other Freewheel. What do I say hub then? I kept on saying hub. Like every other Freewheel, it is springs and pawls. So the springs on these are actually removable very easily, unlike the other hub. I say that, I can't even grip onto it. Why can't I grip onto it? Oh, my tweezers are bent. So yeah, you can take these springs out, clean them up, and put them back in again. So they just slot in there. Obviously you've got to make note of the orientations. And where's my Phil Woods grease? Okay, what I'm going to do is just put a bit of Phil Woods grease oil, Phil Woods tenacious oil, just down the holes for the springs and the pawls themselves. Just so they continue to have that lubrication. Now this is going to be one of the tricky parts, because I want to try and load these up at the moment as they are. So obviously the movement is going to be there. Same for the other side. And I'm going to try and hold those down and drop my elastic band on the floor. Oh, this might be okay. The problem we have with this next step is you need to load this bottom race up with the bearings while trying to keep these pulls pressed in, because when you drop the freewheel body over the top, everything needs to line up and just drop straight on there. If you're having to wobble it side to side, then the bearings are going to fall off. So I need enough to hold it in. I need a thin elastic band, really, a really thin one. Right, that might work. Might. We'll soon find out. I hope it does. So yeah, I'm going to put all my fill woods oil. My lights died. Put all my fill woods oil around this race. Load it up with bearings. Carefully, because they are a pain. And then see if I can drop the freewheel body over the top. Wish me luck. Right, okay, now for the difficult part. Hopefully the elastic bands will hold in place while I drop this over the top, and hopefully I won't knock on any bearings off when I try and cut it. Hopefully. Because that's got to sit there. It's not going to work. Okay. Ooh, change of plan. What I'm going to do instead is... Okay. I wondered where you'd gone. So change of plan. I'm just going to undo this slightly, because I've wrapped it up 3 times. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to hold this tight over here. Put that bearing back in that I dropped. Okay. Right, that's over the pulls. So now, let's see, if I cut this band, let's see if I can slide it out. Ah, awesome. That's how you do it then. Got a thin elastic band, put it over, pull it tight. Yes! And now that is in there, clicking away nicely. Perfect. So just got to do the same on the top. Load up the race with some Phil Woods tenacious oil. Load up the bearings, and we're away. Okay, so that's loaded up with bearings. Time to get you 2. This one only had 2 clean washers to sit over the top. It also covers the pawls. Okay, and then you get your lock ring. That's also clean. And screw that on. So that seems to be good now. Okay, so that seems to be good. It's spinning round, it's not doing the ticking of the pawls flicking against bare metal or non-greased metal, so there is there isn't that tick at the moment, but I'm sure once it's had a few hundred revolutions and that Phil Wood's oil has just thinned out a tiny little bit, it'll be fine. The tick will come back if you really miss that, but yeah, it engages strongly and it spins nicely, so I think that's good. That will last a good while longer, and the cogs look good on it as well. So this 3-speed Atom hub should be good for a while longer. But yeah, that was my first experience of servicing a Freewheel. I've got a lot more to do now. The things that I guess found tricky were loading up that bottom race. Trying to keep all the bearings on there, that can be a little frustrating, and dealing with the pawls. So I found that just having an elastic band or something thin just strapped over them like so, holding them in place while you drop that body over the top, prevents any bearings from being pushed off, and it's a lot easier because then you can just release one side, pull it out, and everything drops into place nicely. Yeah, top tip. So yeah, that was not too bad actually, not too bad. Once you've worked everything out, it works a lot easier. So hope this video is useful. It's useful to me just to go over it in my head to see how things work, and I hope it's useful for you too. So if you like this video, thumbs up and all that jazz, thumbs down if you didn't, like is the same thing, comment and subscribe and all that sort of stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Or if you've got any pointers, actually, if you've got any more pointers for anyone wanting to service a Freewheel, let them know in the comments.